Macedonia, and we are going to continue once again with our study of the origin of Hebrew words, the Hebrew vocabulary. So sorry that I'm getting off to a little bit of a later start today. The last couple of weeks have been very stressful for me, but things are doing much better for my personal life. So I should be able to be more consistent going forward. But yeah, these last couple of weeks have just been really tough for me to focus with so much stress from my job situation. But my job situation has been made a lot better uh, with some. There's been some major drama at work, but it's finally been resolved, and now I can actually have peace at work. So it's going to help me be able to focus more on my YouTube channel as well as my Bible work that I am trying to do. So hopefully in these coming weeks, things should be better for my channel. But with that said, we're going to continue where we left off last time. And we start with the word Ab. So I'm going to share the screen from Blue Letter Bible so we can see where we left off. This is the word Ab. And they say it's from the same root as the word for father. The basic idea is that it's an ancestral spirit. So you know how the pagans would often pray to their dead ancestors. That's basically what this is. An Aub, dead father that was prayed to. We also see, supposedly, it can mean water skin bottle. So let's see. It only occurs 17 times in the Bible. So regard not them that have familiar spirits. I would probably translate it as ancestral spirits, referring to the idea of the father. But familiar is related to the word for family. So it has the same basic concept there, familiar spirit or ancestral spirit. And so it's like communicating with the dead ancestors. In Job, belly is as wine, which has no vent. It is ready to burst like a new bottle. So the question is, how can it, in one verse, how does it mean bottles? And another verse, it means dead ancestors or dead fathers, which is a good question. Let's see here. So I want to share with you guys the Akkadian document, which has the same word. So we're going to see that this same occurs in the Akkadian. So as we can see right here, this word Ab is found in the Akkadian Apu. Remember, the U ending is just a case ending. So the actual word, when you see U or in Akkadian, that's a case ending. The actual word is the first part, Ap. So we see that this word Ap occurs in the Babylonian dialect of Akkadian, as well as in the what's called the Neo-Assyrian dialect. So it's a much later Assyrian dialect. So what it's telling us is that you don't necessarily see this word in the earlier documents, probably because of the fact that, way back in the ancient times, they didn't pray to the dead ancestors, but later generations started praying to dead ancestors. So that's probably what we see. Now, according to this, it says the Akkadian meaning actually is opening in the ground. And then the Hebrew meaning was of pit, which is probably where the meaning of bottle comes from. A bottle has a pit in it. And then from pit, they say it means spirit of the pit, and then from spirit of the pit, it just becomes spirit. That's what they say it means. So, so what it says here is that it has been shown by this particular scholar named Hofner that alb is an ancient term employed in most Near Eastern languages for a ritual pit which mortals communicated with chthonic deities or deities of the underworld. So we have the Sumerian Ab, Hittite Abi, Ugaritic Ab, Akkadian Ap. Okay, so this this other scholar, Cohen, rejected the equation of Ab with the Akkadian Ap by saying, unless the root meaning pit can be demonstrated internally for the Hebrew Ab. But the scholars Kogan and Tadmor, they said in Hebrew, the semantic development seems to be from pit to spirit of the pit. This can be seen from Isaiah 29:4, where the prophet refers to Ab as the whole of the netherworld, calling the spirits earthward. Then you shall speak from the bottom of the netherworld, from the low of the underworld, your word shall come, your voice shall be like the pit of the ground, and your voice shall chirp from the underworld. So, based on what they say, it seems like it meant something more like a pit, and then it became the spirit of the pit. So it's possible that the familiar spirit or ancestral spirit is actually just a wrong translation. Let's see here. Okay, so we'll go to the next word. So the next word in Strong's is albil. This is just someone's name. So we go to the next one. They say albil perhaps comes from the word abel. Here we have another al. It means stream or river. And we see that 3 times, all in the book of Daniel only. It is a Hebrew word. They say it's from Yabal. Yabal, let's see what Yabal is. Yabal means to bring or lead or carry, conduct, bear along. So a river does all those things. So it's a flow. So rather than saying river, the actual word that's being used is the flower or the conductor, what conducts, which is a river. So a translation, a sense translation would be river, but a literal translation would be like conductor or flower, something along those lines. So next, okay, let's see. Aud says from an unused root meaning to rake together. And so it's only translated, it only occurs 3 times in the Bible. 2 times is firebrand, 1 time is brand. And so let's see here. It occurs in Isaiah, smoking firebrands, Amos, firebrand from Sodom and Gomorrah, and Jerusalem being rebuked. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Okay, so let's go to the next word. Aldot. from the same as the previous word. It says, but this is translated as meaning because, concerning, the sake of. So that's the basic primary meaning here. Awe, or ava, as they say right here, means desire, lust, long, covet. So you could see, what they're translating it 17 times as desire, 4 times as lust, 3 times as long, 2 times as covet. That's a very interpretive translation. 4 times as lust implies that it's a bad type of desire. First, it tells us that lust is a thing. Secondly, it tells us that the particular desire is bad. So the problem with that is that's an interpretation that's being imposed into the text. What's clear, the clear evidence based on how they're translating it, is that the word just simply means to desire something or long for something. You can righteously long for something, or you can sinfully long for something. The word lust actually, in the original meaning, doesn't mean anything bad. It just means to long for something or desire something. But over time, lust has gotten a negative connotation. So now lust is strictly associated with very negative meaning. So they translate it 4 times as lust because they think it's a bad thing in those verses. But that, again, that's interpretive. So in a faithful translation that tries to remove as much as possible interpretive translation that's unnecessary, will not do this. They will stick with desire the whole time. So let's take a look at where they say this. So the mixed multitude that was among them fell lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? They could simply say they fell desiring, because they were desiring flesh to eat. And that was a bad thing in this context. You don't need to say lust to drive home that point. Just say desire, and the context tells you that it's a bad desire. Here we have, and he called the name of that place Kibroth Hatava, because they were buried. There they buried the people that lusted. It should say the people that desired or longed. And again, in this particular context, what they were longing for was a bad thing. But saying lust is a interpretation you're forcing into the text to tell you what it means when you don't need to do that. It's unnecessary. I could understand if the word was very difficult to translate literally, because it could mean totally different things in different contexts. So you had to interpret which meaning the word was. But in this case, desire fits every single context perfectly. So there's no need to change it to say lust. Same thing here. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house. It says desire thy neighbor's house, but it said desire here. So what's the Hebrew word here? It looks like it's a different Hebrew word. So let's take a look. What is that Hebrew word? Just to understand that there's 2 different words here. So that first word is hamid or hamad. It's right here. You should not hamad. So let's take a look at what that means. So 11 times is desire, 4 times is covet, 2 times is delight, 1 time is pleasant, beauty. So this sounds like more of a desire, like a like pleasure type of thing, whereas the other ones sound more like longing for something. So I might translate the other one as longing and this one as desire. So let's see here. So neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou long for thy neighbor's house. His field or his manservant or his maidservant, his ox or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's. So two different words here is interesting, because one is enjoying, particularly enjoying, which is regarding uh, a woman you want to be with. So that implies a pleasure of some sort, whereas wanting something to own it or have it as a possession is different than the way you want someone else's wife. The way you want someone else's wife is you want to enjoy that wife, whereas all these other things you're not wanting to enjoy, you just want to possess them as your property. So that's the explanation for why there's two different Hebrew words here. So we don't catch these nuances when we're looking at the English translation. And again, the confusion here lies in the fact that what did we say? The Hamad word is translated, where did we say? Okay, 11 times as desire. Whereas this other word is translated 17 times as desire. So when you see the word desire in the English translation, how do you know which word it's talking about? Well, they're two clearly different words. So why is the English translation translating them both the same way? It doesn't make sense. So a proper understanding of Hebrew language will help sort out which is the correct word to use in which context. Okay, so that is the goal for us learning Hebrew, as well as for my Bible, for my translation. I'm going to be showing the differences between those words. So here we have awa. It says to mark, describe with a mark, to point out. Let's see. It only occurs in one verse, so it seems unclear if that's the actual meaning. They translated it in the King James Version. So let's go to the next one. Here we have awa. Is it spelled the same way? Yeah, it's literally spelled the same way, just with different vowel marks. And here we have, again, desire, lust after, pleasure. So they're making this a different, though it's not a different word. It's literally the same exact word as the one before. So here we have 183. Okay, I see why they're marking it as a different words. Okay, so 183 is saying is a verb. So this is awa, the verb, and this is awa, the noun. So the difference is, like in English, you have the word love. Love can be a verb, but love can also be a noun. In the same way, jump. The word jump can be a verb, but jump can also be a noun. Those are a lot of jumps you did. That was a big jump. See, so jump in that context is a noun. So it can be both a verb or a noun depending on context. So in the same way, Hebrew has that. So Strong's is marking the same word as two different words when it's a verb or a noun. So sometimes they'll mark the same exact word as different words when it's when it's being used as a different part of speech based on context. Alzi, or as they say, Uzai, that is someone's name. So we'll go to the next one, because for names are more difficult and they're not as relevant for our. So this one's name is Azal. of uncertain derivation. So someone's name again. Go to the next one. We, they say, may be related to longing for something. That word we just talked about, the ava, to long for something. So saying woe or alas, because you're longing something that you've lost, is essentially what they're saying. So it occurs 24 times in the Old Testament, and they basically always translate it as woe or alas. And that's the basic meaning in those verses. To someone's name, Ali. This is basically the same exact word as woe, but it's apparently the feminine version of it. So it just means woe, and only occurs one time in the Bible. Okay. This is interestingly, this is translated as evil, and the meaning of evil is very close to the English meaning. It means fool in the Hebrew, a fool. So 20 times it's translated as fool, 6 times foolish man, but the word man is not actually in the text, but they often will supply it. So for wrath kills the foolish man. So we take a look at the verse. For unto fool wrath kills. And slays the silly one. So here it says foolish man, but silly one. Why doesn't it say silly man? They're adding man there when it's not in the text. It doesn't make sense. And then in the very next verse, the same word occurs, but they say fool instead of foolish man. See, I have seen the foolish taking root. But it's literally the same exact word, and in the prior verse there was no man, yet they add man in the translation. And they don't put it in italics. So it makes you think the word man is in the Hebrew when it's not. Have Psalm 107, fools because of their transgression, because of their iniquities are afflicted. Fools despise wisdom. Okay, so fool, foolish. Let's see here. So most of the time they translate it as fool, but a few times they say foolish man. Here we have, if a wise man contends with a foolish man. Let's check to see if man is in the Hebrew text here. Okay. A man that is wise, or a wise man, contends. Okay, this time man is in the text. See, here man is in the text. A man that is foolish, or a foolish man. So it's appropriate to say man when it's in the Hebrew, and when it's not, then we should say man. Okay, so it looks like there was only that one instance where they added man into the text in Job 5:2 when it's not there. Otherwise, they kept it fool correctly. So they say from an unused root, meaning to be perverse. Here, Merodach. This comes from a Akkadian meaning. There was a Babylonian king, and Merodach actually comes from the god Marduk, and the root meaning actually means man of Marduk. So this word in Akkadian, it means fool in Hebrew, but it actually means like man in Akkadian. It doesn't mean fool in Akkadian. So we'll be taking a look at that in a second. Here we have al. They say from an unused root, twist or to be strong. So one time they translate it as mighty, one time as strength. So it's prominence. The mighty of the land, but their strength is firm. So either it would be best translated as mighty of the land, but their might is firm, or the strong of the land, their strength is firm. Like it makes sense to translate it in both ways the same, not to say mighty here and strength here. Or perhaps both mighty and strong are bad translations and a different word should be used instead. But it doesn't make sense to distinguish and have different words for the translation. That just confuses people and makes them think there's different Hebrew when there's not. Ali, may, peradventure, unless, so that's the basic meaning there. Oh, so this is it looks like it could perhaps be from two different words, maybe, if this is correct. The first word, ow, which means like or, and then li means something else. So combined together, and it means perhaps. Let's see. From 176, they say it's from this. Okay. Yeah, so they say verb from ow and li. Let's take a look at what li is. Oh, it doesn't say what li is. They say li could be a spelling of la, which means not. So 45 times. Go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain. Peradventure. So, these words are basically the same meaning, but again, it doesn't make sense for them to like peradventure is such a weird translation anyway. Why not just stick with perhaps, peradventure? So um, so perhaps I may obtain children by her. Perhaps there be 50 righteous within the city. So perhaps would be better than saying peradventure, because peradventure in modern English, and perhaps does fine preserving the basic meaning. Let's see here. Donkey saw me and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee and saved her alive. So if you said perhaps here, it wouldn't make sense. Perhaps she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee. So that wouldn't make sense to say that. But if they said for if she had turned from me, let's see if for if works in these. It doesn't really work for if. So this would be a case where you might need to interpret the translation because it's hard to find one word that covers all the meanings. So this might be a time where interpretive translation is permissible due to the fact that it's hard to find a single word that carries the exact meaning in every verse. But yeah, so let's go to the next word. This is someone's name, and they say Persian origin word, ally. Here we have another word related to foolish, Ali. Just one occurs in Zechariah. Here we have Alim. They say Alam. So it means porch. 34 times it's translated as porch. It's not translated any other way, and it occurs primarily in the passages about the temple. Solomon's temple, the temple in the Ezekiel vision, and also Solomon's house or palace, which had a porch on it. Typically, regular houses did not have porches in those times, so porch would be for very rich people. Very prominent to have a porch. Portico. So as you can see 34 times, and it's always translated as porch. So it says it comes from Elam. So let's take a look here. 481, to bind, can mean dumb. Dumb is, the mouth is bound, so it's not speaking. Put to silence. Okay. So it sounds like a porch is it says here, a vestibule that is bound to the building. So a binding. The porch is bound to the building. So that's why they use the word bound for a porch. But in this case, instead of translating it as bound, it probably works to just translate it as porch, because that's, it's always translated as porch in every verse here. So most likely the best way to translate it is just to say porch, but it's possible that one could try to translate it with the idea of a binding or bound, something bound. So, okay. This again, someone's name, alone. Here we have another adverb. It says but, surely, all different types of ways. But, truly, surely, very, deed, truly. He called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was called Luz at the first. Here we have, okay, he also shall be great, but truly his younger brother shall be greater than he. There's no reason they're adding truly here. Why are they saying truly? If they say but here, and now they're saying but truly, it's implying that it's like saying a certainty. There's no need to add that to the text. So what we could say here, he also shall be great, but his younger brother shall be greater than he. Here we have in very, deed. Let's see if deed is in the Hebrew. Let's see. They're translating this word as for. That's very weird. Okay. With the purpose of, or in the purpose. Let's see. Okay. And yet, in this purpose, I have raised thee. In the purpose, or with the purpose of showing you my power. So that would be a better way to translate it. So it might be better to say yet instead of but. But let's take a look here for a second. Called the name of that place Bethel, yet the name was at the first. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great, yet his younger brother shall be greater than he. And yet as I live, all the earth shall be filled with glory. You could also just say, but as I live. So here truly should not be added. They called the name of the city Dan after the name of Dan their father, who was born unto Israel. Yet the name of the city was Laish at the first, or but the name of the city. So again, you don't need to say howbeit. But truly, again, just say but. Or in very deed, that's the same, going to be the same Hebrew as right here. Let's see. Okay, then we have but. So I would probably just translate it as yet in all these cases. Here we have in Job, I would seek unto God. It's quite a different meaning. Yet I would seek. Yet. So they're not even translating it here. It should say yet or but I would seek unto God. Here we have yet man is born. Let's see. It actually says for, but they say yet. For man is born into trouble. And they say as the sparks fly upward. So let's see. For man unto trouble is born, and in the offshoots of fire fly upward. This word is often translated as sons, but in this case it's offshoots or offspring. The reshef, let's see, what is that word, reshef, again? Okay. Not saying that the coal has children, but it's saying what comes off the coals, which is the sparks. The sparks are coming off the coals. It springs off of it, or in other words, the offspring. So in this case, let's see. So yeah, so it really actually says yet I or but I, but they're not translating it in the verse. So that's why we need a new translation, because they're not translating all the Hebrew words correctly. The Almighty, and I desire to reason with God. But I would speak, or yet I would speak. Yet or but ye are forgers of lies. Surely the mountain falling cometh to naught. And yet the mountain falling comes to naught. So really you can just say yet in every verse. Yet Job, or but Job, I pray thee, hear my speeches and hearken to all my words. And here, but truly. Again, truly, don't need to add that. Just say but or yet. So this is just a tip of the iceberg of seeing how translators add words unnecessarily. And they change translations based on context when they don't need to. Very often. This one is related to the word for fool that we talked about earlier, alvil. So foolishness, folly. 13 times is folly, 10 times is foolishness. So you see it's the basic meaning there. Almer, Omar, one's name, comes from the word for Amar, apparently. Alvin, it says, comes from this root right here. That typically means this word. Look at this. If you don't have vowel markings, this word could mean iniquity, evil, unrighteous, how they're translating it. Look at how they're translating it. Iniquity, 47 times, iniquity. 8 times wicked, 6 times vanity. All these like very negative meanings. And then they say it actually means more like trouble rather than sin or wickedness. So trouble or exhaustion, sorrow, that type of meaning. To exert oneself. Okay? Now, the same exact words spelled the same way with different vowel marks later say in the effort but successful. So strength, might, force, goods, substance. So here we have Reuben, you were my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength. Beginning of his strength. The steps of his strength shall be straightened. His strength shall be hunger bitten. So in all these, it sounds like positive designation. Here we have his hands shall restore their goods or their strongholds. His strength is in his loins. Okay, now this is two different words that both mean something similar to strong. A word for strong. Here we have the word ka. So again, two different words, strength there. So his force is in the navel of the belly, of his belly. Okay. Then we have of strength in the tabernacles of Ham, chief of all their strength, the greatness of his might. I have found me out substance. Okay, so how do we know, without context, this could mean evil, right? According to that other meaning or something very negative or bad. So why does this one word have that very different meanings? So so let's see here. You are my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my exertion. So then when we go back here, the exertion, he hath not beheld, let's see. In this, it might be better to say like exhaustion, right? So I have not eaten thereof in my exhaustion. So stubbornness is exhausting or is exhaustion. I mean, here we have affliction. Affliction might be a good, let's see. Although affliction comes not forth, let's see. If affliction be in thy hand, put it far away. God lays up his iniquity for his children. So iniquity usually means injustice. So God doesn't do injustice. Wait, I think what it's saying, and sorry, I'm thinking out of context. His iniquity refers to the wicked. Yeah. So God lays up his exertion for his children. So it's hard to come up with a perfect translation for these very two different meanings. But in this case, I might go with afflicted because that does a good job of, it's similar in meaning to exhaustion, but it has, it doesn't have the, like, it fits the meaning of something negative in like a evil meaning, but it doesn't use the words iniquity and wicked because we don't want to use these words when they're not actually in the text. So afflicted should probably be the better translation here. Where the workers of affliction may hide themselves. Yeah, so that's how I would probably translate it. Okay. So, anyways, let's go back. Go to the next word. So this person's name is On. Okay. Here we have an Egyptian origin word, place named On as well. This was the word we just looked at earlier for the negative meaning. Aven. So we have here the young men of Aven, the plain of Aven. So that's a place name. So they say it's a name used contemptuously for the following places of idolatrous worship. Okay. Alno. Every time there's someone's name, as if it's a different word, different Strong's number. So Anam, someone's name. So if you're looking at the Strong's list of numbers and you say, wow, that's a lot of words to know Hebrew. You don't need to know the names to know Hebrew. You need to know the vocabulary words. The names are rare names that don't occur often. They're not really words. So Onan is, again, someone's name. Opaz, so it could be a corruption. Here we have Alper or Alfer, unknown etymology, it says. Alfin. So this comes related to the, so if you ever heard of the angelic beings called the Ophanim, the wheels, these refer to the angelic beings called the wheels, the Ophanim. And they are, this word occurs in Ezekiel 35 times. It occurs in Exodus and Kings to mean just regular wheels of like chariots. Proverbs, the wheel Isaiah, just a regular wheel. But here we have in Ezekiel wheels, as if like a being that looks like wheels. When the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. Now, as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his four faces. So we have here wheels, or ophan, the ophanim. So here we have, and when I looked, behold, the four wheels by the cherubim, one wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by another cherub. And the appearance of the wheels was as the color of a beryl stone. Let's see here. Okay, so let's stop here for a second. Let me just look up the, it doesn't look like you're on right now, but Shalom 1 John, thank you for watching. So we're going to look at the ophanim just to show you the Wikipedia article. Let's take a look. Let's see where it is. The ophanim. Just so you can see the angelic reference. So here we have the ophanim. Okay, it's literally the same word we're talking about right now. And so we have referred to the wheels seen in Ezekiel's vision. Also, the Dead Sea Scrolls construes them as angels in the scroll called numbered 4Q405. In the Book of Enoch, there are several places that portray them as a class of celestial beings who never sleep but guard the throne of God. In Christian angelology, they are one of the choirs of angels and are also called thrones. These wheels have been associated with Daniel 7:9, the wheels of Galgalim. Okay, Second Enoch refers to them as the many-eyed ones. First Enoch, Book of Enoch, seems to imply that the ophanim are equated to the thrones in Christianity when it lists them all together in order. Roundabout were seraphim, cherubim, and ophanim. Roundabout were seraphim, cherubim, and ophanim. It is said that they were the actual wheels of the Lord's heavenly chariot, the Merkabah. Ophanim also occurs in Judaism in their concept of the angelic hierarchy. So they mention them in their prayers, the Kedusha section. We also have Dionysius the Areopagite, right in his writings, refers to the thrones as being linked with the cherubim and seraphim. Okay, so these are angelic beings. So now let's take a look back at the Blue Letter Bible. So we're continuing now. Here we have Uz, or Uj, his name. So that means haste, labor, narrow. 8 times is haste, so that looks like haste is probably the primary meaning. But here it says to be pressed. So let's take a look. Then the angels hastened Lot. If Mount Ephraim be too haste for thee, Joshua answered them, if thou be a great people, get thee up to the wood, and cut down for thyself there in the land of the Perizzites and of the giants. if Mount Ephraim be too pressing for thee. Too pressing for thee. So let's see. Then the angels pressed Lot. The taskmasters pressed, saying, so pressed is probably the best. The sun stood still in the midst of heaven and pressed not to go down. And he that pressed with the feet sins. He that presses to be rich shall not be innocent. Do you see a man pressing in his words? There is more hope of a fool than of him. Therefore said I, look away from me, I will weep, press not to comfort me. Okay, so that's probably the best way to translate it. Outsir, treasury, storehouse, cellar, armory. So all these other, one-time translating it, cellar, these are unnecessary distinctions. The best way to probably do it would be storehouse in all times or treasury. So we have here 79 times, shall open up to thee his good treasure. Let's see if it actually says good or if they add the word good there. Open, Yahweh shall open for you. It does have good. Good, his good treasure. So let's see. Treasury. He shall open unto thee his good treasury. To the treasure of Yahweh. Or let's see if it's treasures or treasury. Let's see. Let's take a look. How did they translate? Okay. Storehouse. Bring ye all the tithes into the treasury. Cellar. Let's see. And over the treasuries of oil. I'm going to look up for a second treasury in Wiktionary to see if it fits. It says a place where treasure is stored safely. So let's take a look at treasure. A collection of valuable things, accumulated wealth, anything greatly valued. So, wine was valued. So, the wine treasuries and the treasuries of oil. We have armory. Yahweh hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. So they're translating it as armory because in the very next part of the sentence, it says the weapons. So, but if it says treasury, the weapons can be greatly valued items. So the weapons are stored in the treasury of Yahweh. So I would probably still translate this as treasury, but I can see why they say armory, just because the weapons and the word treasury sounds like only a treasures. In English, we tend to associate it with just treasures. So that's why you can see why they translate it as armory. "19 times, 14 times, shine, enlighten, fire." So it really has the meaning of light, to make light. One time it's translated as fire. Let's see. Here. "The woman come and set them on fire." It would be probably light them. Light them up. Let's just check that. Okay. Okay. Light up them. So that's the best way to put it. "The woman come lighting them up." That's how we should translate. Not set them on fire. Set is not even in the text. They're just adding set to make it try to make more sense. But light them up is the best way. It says, say that in English. Light them up when we're talking about making a fire come on. So okay, glorious. Let's take a look. "Thou art more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey." It does not say glorious. It's so you are lighter. You are more lighter. Wait, hold on. You are lighter. See, they add and. It's not in the text. You are lighter than. You are exceedingly. That's probably the best way. You are exceedingly lighter than the mountains of prey. Although I don't know what that's even supposed to mean. You could also translate it as brighter, maybe. You are brighter than, or lighter. But saying glorious, it doesn't say glorious. That's a bad translation. Here we have break of day. That's good. That's a pretty good translation in light, because it sticks with the main meaning of light. Does not need to be translated as break of day. Let's see what it actually says. It's not loading. All right, here. Oops, let's see. And his men, no, okay. And Joab and his men went all night. And late hold on a second. And light was for them in Hebron. That's what it seems like it's saying. And there was light for them in Hebron. Because here, this is in, and this is the place, Hebron. Yeah, so there was light for them in Hebron. Okay. So now we're looking at the Akkadian origins here. I'm just trying to go through the Aleph all in one go. Here we have this lighting times, 2 times is day, 1 time is bright, clear, flood, herb, lightning, morning, sun. So mostly clear that pretty much the majority of the time is light is the meaning, but let's take a look at some of these bizarre translations to see how they're translating. One is sun. Job, if I beheld the light when it shines, or the moon walking in brightness. So let's see the word for light, the word for moon. So the word for sun is light. Here we have moon. So this is interesting because this word is literally the word for moon, but this word is not the word for sun. So that is actually very quite interesting reading here. It's possible there is a corruption in the Hebrew text here. So they say, well, because it says moon, the parallel should say sun. So they change light to say sun. But the actual Hebrew does say light. So if I saw the light when it shined and the moon walking bright, or in the bright moon walking, so that's an interesting case where this may be a corruption, but the Hebrew text are changing it to say sun. Here we have herb. Let's take a look at herb. 1 time is herb. I will take my rest, and I will consider in my dwelling place like a clear heat upon herbs. For thus says Yahweh unto me, I will take my rest. No, I will take rest. And It's interesting because here this does not say my. They're adding my. The Hebrew just says, I will take rest. And it says, and I will consider in my dwelling place. It does say my here. This is whenever you say my, there's a yod at the end. That's my. Not. Let me clarify. It's not the case whenever you see yod at the end that means my. But if it means my, then there is a yod at the end. Without a yod at the end, it cannot mean my. It can also mean me sometimes, me or my. So, like heat, like clear heat upon let's see. Maybe it's just saying light things. Like, in English, we might say something's light in color. So perhaps they're saying the herbs are light. That could be my only guess of why they're translating it as herbs. And it probably would be interesting to see what the Septuagint says for interpretation purposes. But we'll move on from that. Let's see. And we also have morning here. They say it occurs twice, so it doesn't actually occur twice. It's only one time. So sometimes this information is not accurate. It says it occurs in 2 verses. No, it occurs in 1 verse. Floods is here, but it's a different Hebrew word. So this information is not always accurate, just as a heads up for you guys who are using Blue Letter Bible. So rise up holy as a flood, and it shall be cast out and drowned as the light of Egypt. This word for light, so light, there's something called light waves. Light waves. There's also waves of water. So you could make the case that the meaning is waves, and in most places, waves is referring to light, but it could refer to flood of water in a few places. It's the wave of Egypt. Day. 2 times, supposedly, as day. And they compassed in for Samson. In the morning, when it is light, we shall kill him. Until the light and night come to an end. It actually says the darkness. Not so. This is an example where they're changing the text. Until the day and night come to an end. The actual Hebrew says until the light and darkness come to an end. So light, darkness. We take a look. 2:8:22. See, it's going to show you it says darkness. 70 dark. So this is a case really changing the Hebrew no real reason. Now, some might say that it's not a big difference between light and day or dark and night, but if they can make small changes like these for no reason in these type of places, what about big places, big changes that they're making? So this is important to establish that they are making changes in the actual text. So we have to be careful and do our due diligence at what the actual original text says. Let's see. Morning light, morning light, morning light. Where does it actually just say morning? Here it is. He read therein before the street, that was before the water gate, from light until midday. From the light unto the middle of the day. Okay, so that's for light. We should be very close to the end of the YouTube video's title, because the titles are inaccurate. I keep saying we're going to be covering fewer words than we actually are. So I will try to update the descriptions those we've been doing. So here is that word are, but they're saying it's a different word, even though it's not. They're using vowel markings to make it a different word, even though it's not. It's literally the same word. 5 times is fire, 1 time is light. So let's take a look here. Wherefore glorify ye Yahweh in the fires, saith Yahweh, whose fire is in Zion. I have seen the fire. So fire is light. So the Jews, the Masoretic scribes, when they saw, oh, this is talking about fire in this context, we're going to add these vowel markings to tell you that this means, when you see this word, it means fire. But it literally is the same word as light. It's not a different word at all. So here, thou shalt burn with fire. Let's see what it actually says. A third part, in light you shall burn in the midst of the city. So in light. So they referred to light. They called fire light sometimes. They also called it fire, but they also called it light. Depending on context, they might refer to it as light. So like for example, we say fire, right? But we also say torch. We also say match. We say candle, furnace. Let's see. All these different words that can describe something burning, fire, lamp. So in this, the word for light probably has a specific type of fire, like maybe a torch or something. A torch might be considered a light because a torch is used as a light, right? But it's a fire. So thou shalt burn with a torch, perhaps, is what it's talking about, but with light, with a light, or a lighter. I just thought, we use lighters to light things on fire. So thou shalt burn with a lighter, a third part, in the midst of the city. And what was a lighter back in the times? You didn't use little metal things to light things up. You used torches or whatever to light things up. So you call torches lighters, just like we call little metal trinkets lighters, because they light things on fire. So in the same way, torches were called lighters in the past. So word, it's just the Jews adding vowel marks unnecessarily. Here we have They think it comes from the word for fire, but that's almost certainly not the case. Although it's possible that's the meaning, but it's probably not. I believe it's a Sumerian word and not a Hebrew word. So it probably does not have anything to do with fire or light. Feminine, and they say 2 times as herbs, 2 times as light. Let's see. It says a plant being bright or a light. So let's see where they translate it as. And one went out into the field to gather the light things, or the herbs that are light. Okay. All right. Dew of herbs or light things. So in that case, you can see why they translate it as herbs. But I might translate it, if I was to say herbs, I would probably say or light herbs. Okay, here we have Arya, a manger, Saul, crib. One time only in 2 Chronicles. They say the correct way to say it or spell it is with a Y instead of a yod. Here we have Ariel, someone's name. Oh, that's angel. Uriel. Arya or Arya. Arim, and that's because they were lights, the Arim, the lights. Out refers to its consent to. So the word means to mark, designate something. So when you're consenting, you're designating. In this, we will designate unto you, or mark unto. So I would probably say designate or mark, because as we see when we go to the next thing right here, sign 60 times as a sign, 14 times as a token, 2 times it's an ensign. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. My apologies. So 60 times as sign, 14 times as token, 2 times as ensign, 2 times as miracle, 1 time as mark. So, the word for miracle, when they talk about miracles in other places, they'll say signs and wonders. So, miracles, it should not be translated as, it should be a sign. Also, you guys have probably heard of the Aleph Tav. That's a marker, an object marker. So, Aleph Tav means to mark something, to designate something. And I believe that's it for the Aleph Wa. That's for the Aleph Wa words. So that's what we have for Blue Letter Bible. So we're going to take a look at the Akkadian dictionary. So here we have, remember we talked about earlier the woe or alas. In Akkadian, the same occurs. In Akkadian, it's aya, or just and so it occurs in the Old Babylonian and Standard Babylonian. So the Akkadian is used exclusively in the expression woe and alas. Okay. Then we have here for Akkadian, so so Old Akkadian and onward. So interestingly, it says the Akkadian meaning uses it for day. And remember, we saw earlier a strange meaning. Well, I think it was used for sun. It was used for sun, strangely. It said light and moon. So perhaps that peculiar thing in Job might go back to the Akkadian thing. But so let's see. It says, whereas Akkadian is the etymological and semantic equivalent to Hebrew or, it seems that the Akkadian substantive connotes day, whereas Hebrew means only light. So for example, in the Akkadian, to say day and night, you say or u musha or u mush. So is day in Akkadian, mush is night. So Akkadian is using the word light to mean day. And interestingly, Genesis says that the day was the light was called day, and the darkness was called night. So light literally being called day goes back to an Akkadian meaning. It says the common Akkadian word for light is nur. There, the Hebrew also has nur as a word for light. And then out, a sign or a mark. Akkadian has the same thing. It occurs in Old Akkadian and onward. So it's a very ancient word in Akkadian. We have astronomical omens. So let's see. The omens of the sky. The marks of the Shemayim, the sky. Here we have the marks of Shami. Marks of the sky. In the Akkadian. Same exact words. To remove a sign. So we have Nakar Altat. Let's see. Nakaru. Okay. Shall not be removed. The signs, the marks shall not be removed. Here we have the same thing. Akkadian. Ita Nikaru. So It and nikar is literally the same words in the Hebrew, to remove a mark. And to give a sign, natan, out. Natan or Nathan. Nathan means to give. So natan, out. To give a sign. Itan, Adoni, Hua, Lachem, out. So Adonai will give. It probably says Yahweh in the actual text, potentially. Maybe it says, maybe not. Maybe it's Adonai because it's Isaiah. So Adonai will give. Adonai himself will give for you a mark. That's what it says. And then it's for surely, or for thus. So for thus, Yahweh, for thus Adonai himself shall give for you a mark. And in the Akkadian, we have Ita Natan or Nadan. So that is a mark being given. Same Hebrew words in Akkadian. To see a sign, Raka, out. In the Akkadian, we have It Amar. So in Akkadian, they use the word Amar to mean see, not Rach. To place a sign is, there's two ways of spelling it depending on context. So you have Shim and Shayeth. So this is a different word with a similar meaning. The Akkadian has It Shakan, to place a sign. Here we have annul or eradicate an omen or sign. The Hebrew has efer, but the Akkadian has pasas. So it's a different word there, but it has the same basic meaning. A good omen we have here, do with me a sign for good. Good is toba. We have the same basic meaning in Akkadian, but different words being used. Provide him with a good sign. Damik ti shuknashu. Okay. Meaning of landmark occurs in the Akkadian as well. The Sabbath is a sign, so the meaning of sign. And in the Akkadian, it says, lest ever after they be forgotten, let this be the sign. So it can mean sign. And this is now in the Aleph Zion words, so we will stop here for now. Let's see what we got here. Got to go check out what we covered in Blue Letter Bible. Let's see. One second. We're just going to cover a few of the words we covered. We're going to check to see if there's anything to say on Wiktionary. So there's no etymology information for Aub on Wiktionary. So let's check the next one. Okay. I will. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, let's see. One second. Okay. So let's see. One second here. I'll share the screen for a second. So we have this name. In the Bible, the person's called Avil Marduk, but the actual person's name is Amel Marduk. So according to scholars, it's probably the case that the scribes changed it to say Avil as almost like as an insult, or it's possible they misheard it because the sound of the and m can easily be confused. So, for example, in the Bible, you have Nimrod, right? Nimrod. Now, listen to the sound nim, m. Just like you say, have the word dumb, D-U-M-B, dumb. When you say it like that, dumb, at the end, you hear a B sound, dumb. So the M actually can have a B sound. The sound of M actually is called a labial sound by scholars of science for sound values. So the sound of M is actually closely associated with B, V, and P sounds in science. So very often in language, B, V, P, and M are confused. So you have Alvo Marduk, Alvo, but the original was actually Amul with an M and not a Wa. So the Hebrew got it incorrect. When the Bible has it incorrect uh, by saying Alvil, it's actually Amel. I was trying to find it on Wiktionary, but it's not showing me the name, so I don't know if I'm able, because I wanted to show the etymology. Oh, there might be a way to show you guys. Let's see. I'm going to check the Pennsylvania Sumerian Dictionary for man. Let's see what we got here. Man. Let's see. There's a bunch of ways of saying it. Okay, that's not very good. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this because this is quite interesting. So, Akkadian, one sec. All right, one sec. I'm going to have to end this, guys. I have to go for family dinner, but I'll just show you guys the screen right here. So, the Akkadian word Amel can be spelled with all these different Sumerian words. But I'll pick up next time, and we'll go back to this word, and we'll carry on next week. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Usually we do family dinner a little bit later, but it looks like they're going to be doing family dinner a little bit earlier, so I have to end it now. And I started this live later than I should have. I started around 3:40, so that's why I'm ending it earlier than normal. But so next week I will try to start at 3 o'clock. Like I said earlier at the beginning of this video, I've been going through a lot of stress and drama at my job, but it's finally been resolved after like a year of horrible situation that I've had to endure. It's finally been resolved, so I should have a lot less stress and more free time and more relaxation to be able to do better videos for you guys and to start working on the Bible project more efficiently. So anyways, I'll end the video now, and I'll see you guys next Sunday. Shalom, have a great week, and God bless you guys.